クイッククイックラジオ大阪いざ一新
Obie's Daily Radio Osaka!
Hi everyone, welcome to Obie's Daily Radio Osaka. I'm Haru, and today is Friday, May 22nd, 2026.
And I'm Obie. Today's lineup is pure local Kansai texture. Roses, baseball rice, cold noodles, and one surprisingly famous otter.
We start with listener rose photos from around Kansai. Then a corner about small life changes. Solo travel, snack habits, family recipes, and city towers.
Small life changes plus towers? That already sounds like a radio personality test.
After that, we go behind the Hanshin Tigers' comeback mood to the meals that support the players. Then we untangle Osaka ramen, Hiyashi Chuka, and Hokkaido raw sara.
Cold noodle terminology is exactly the kind of resident knowledge I need before ordering with confidence.
And we close with singer Fuji Kawai-san's otter fandom, plus Azumi Inoue-san's surprising Idol era path before Studio Ghibli fame.
Otter fandom and Ghibli history in the same show? Kansai Radio does not move in straight lines.
That's why we like it. Let's get into today's digest. First up, roses. But this was not a garden guide. It was Kansai introducing itself through listener photos.
A flower map made by listeners? That is charming already.
The corner was Tokimeki Pashato. This week's theme was roses, and Wakamiya Teiko-san moved through photos from Nagai Botanical Garden, Kusatsu River Atochi Park's Dei Hiroba, Utsubo Park, Ryosenji Temple in Nara, Kishiwada Central Park, and Suma Rikyu Park.
That is a whole regional tour, but built out of people's camera rolls.
There were home roses too. Flowers near an apartment entrance, roses along a commute route, climbing roses, preserved flowers, and rose-patterned trays, cutting boards, files, and vases.
When the cutting board joins the rose segment, you know the theme has fully entered daily life.
Wakamiya-san also reminded everyone that roses are hard work. Bugs, disease, summer heat, all of it. She called them the queen of flowers, which sounds elegant until you realize queens require staff.
The rose is glamorous, but apparently also a tiny management problem.
The most local detail was Rose Amagasaki 2016, an original rose connected with Amagasaki City's 100th anniversary, seen at places such as Kamisakabe Nishi Park.
A city-specific rose, civic pride with petals.
And Wakamiya-san immediately wondered whether there was a Rose Benten too, since Radio Osaka is in Benten. That small joke is exactly why the segment felt local, not polished for tourists.
I support Rose Benten. It should smell faintly of studio coffee.
There was also a Kyoto listener who visited Nippon Shinyaku Botanical Research Garden and saw Iza Yoibara, which did not look very rose-like, but was still in the rose family.
A botanical plot twist. It does not look like a rose, but the family register says otherwise.
For English-speaking residents, this is a useful kind of local discovery. Parks, cities, home gardens, and jokes all appearing through one radio photo theme. It also shows how local radio makes room for hyper-specific pride. Not just Kansai roses, but Amagasaki's own rose, and then a Benten joke for the studio neighborhood. Next is Tokimeki Do It, a corner built around one gentle idea. Change something small in your routine and see what happens.
Low pressure, high possibility. I like this philosophy.
One Kobe City listener took a 3-night, 4-day solo trip to Kagoshima. She used a guidebook and smartphone train timetables, stayed at Shiroyama Hotel, saw Sakurajima, visited Senganen and Nagasaki Bana, saw Mount Kaimon, rode Ibusuki no Tamatebako, and visited Kirishima Jingu Shrine.
That is not a tiny change. That is a full side quest with a named train.
In Japan, the named train often becomes part of the memory. The destination matters, but the ride can be part of the story too.
Any train called Ibusuki no Tamatebako sounds like it should open with smoke and a dramatic soundtrack.
Another listener decided to stop buying snack foods after drinking. He calculated one bag as about 400 kilocalories and more than 10,000 kilocalories over a month.
That math is emotionally rude, but probably useful.
Then came a memory food story. A listener from Minato Ward recreated sweetly simmered ishun mame that their grandmother used to make. It was tasty, but still far from the remembered flavor.
The recipe can be right, but the grandmother part is hard to reproduce.
Wakamiya-san explained that ishun mame is another name for broad beans, and the talk widened into seasonal beans like snap peas and saya endo.
That is such a local radio move. One bean memory becomes bean season.
The corner also included a listener planning a 5-woman trip with junior high school friends to Yokohama and Tokyo. She had never seen Tokyo Tower and might ride Harobus.
5 old friends and a first Tokyo Tower sighting? That's a movie opening.
Wakamiya-san compared Tokyo Tower with Sutenkaku, Kobe Port Tower, and Kyoto Tower. The larger point was simple. A new route, a first-time dish, a small trip, or a different habit can make familiar life feel new again.
Small changes, big radio. I am keeping that.
Just maybe do not start with a midnight rice cooker purchase. Now a story that starts with the Hanshin Tigers and ends with rice.
That is a very concise sentence. Continue immediately.
The hosts were talking about the Tigers' strong run, especially a game where they came back from 7-0 down. One host said they had watched Morishida's home run video again and again.
A 7-0 comeback is not just a score. That is a regional emotional event.
Exactly. The broadcast said when the Tigers are energetic, all of Kansai feels brighter. Then the topic moved away from the field and toward the people supporting players through meals.
The kitchen side of baseball. I am in.
Kayo Yoshitani-san was introduced as the Tigers' dedicated nutrition advisor, supporting the team through food for more than 10 years. Her work includes nutrition guidance for younger development players and menu supervision at the dormitory and on road trips.
10 years of meals is not a side note. That is infrastructure.
The hosts made a clear point. Athletes are not built by willpower alone. Bodies are built meal by meal. The examples were rice-friendly side dishes, green and yellow vegetables for recovery, pork kimchi, beef bowls, hot pots, stewed dishes, and lighter foods for hot summers.
Professional sports science, but also please eat properly when it is humid.
The rice mentioned was kinmei-mai and kinmei row-cut genmai, connected with Toyo rice. The segment also introduced a Tigers-approved recipe book supervised by Yoshitani-san, Tora Meshi, Tsuyoi Karada, Tsukaranai Karada o Tsukuru.
Tora Meshi is such a perfect title, it almost growls.
Pitcher Psyche was mentioned as someone who had right elbow surgery and thinks carefully about food for injury prevention and reducing inflammation. So the meals were not just fuel, they were part of recovery.
That makes the win feel connected to the dining table in a real way.
There was also sponsor-related campaign information, so we should treat that part as broadcast context, not advice from us. But culturally, the route is fascinating. Tiger's mood, athlete meals, rice, summer appetite, and family health all in one segment. It also makes the segment feel less like a sports report and more like a household conversation. What do you eat when the season is hot, when practice is hard, and when recovery matters the next day?
Baseball as public feeling, powered by rice. Kansai remains undefeated.
That is an Obie summary, but honestly, not wrong. Now for a food language puzzle. In Osaka, ramen may not mean what you expect.
Cold noodles have entered the semantic danger zone.
A listener asked Tanaka Aimi-san about toppings for ramen. She first thought of Korean cold noodles, the kind you might get at a yakiniku restaurant, sometimes with apple on top.
Apple on cold noodles is already a lunch table debate.
Toshiharu Harada-san stopped her and said no, he meant hiyashi chuka. Then came the Osaka point. He said people in Osaka traditionally did not call that dish hiyashi chuka. They called it ramen.
So the same word can send you to Korean cold noodles or chilled Chinese-style noodles, depending on context?
Right. Harada-san said convenience stores and national naming trends helped spread hiyashi chuka, so more people now use that name. It is a small example of language standardizing through everyday retail.
Convenience stores, iced coffee, rice balls, and slow linguistic convergence.
For English-speaking residents, this is practical. Menus already take time to decode, and then regional names, age differences, and chain store vocabulary all layer on top.
So if someone invites me for ramen in Osaka, I should politely confirm which noodle universe we are entering.
Exactly. Tanaka-san then said she does not eat hiyashi chuka much. She prefers Hokkaido-style ramen salad, shortened as rasara. Cold ramen underneath, salad on top.
Rasara has strong summer nickname energy.
She likes lettuce, cabbage, and colorful vegetables. She does not want mayonnaise, but she does want karashi mustard. Harada-san said wanting karashi sounded Kansai-like.
No mayonnaise, yes karashi, a firm noodle platform.
One listener question became Osaka, Korea, Hokkaido, convenience stores, and mustard. That is why food words are such good resident knowledge. For residents, that tiny condiment preference matters because it is the kind of thing you only learn by eating with people, not by reading a menu translation. Today's strangest highlight may be this. Singer Fuji Kawai-san explained fan psychology through an Osaka otter named Uchan.
I knew the otter was coming, and I am still not ready.
Fuji-san said she loves Asian small-clawed otters and keeps a photo behind her phone. Her interest began in 2019 when she was shopping around Harajuku and Omotesando, entered what turned out to be an otter cafe, and ended up giving snacks to otters instead of just drinking tea.
You enter for caffeine, you leave with a new personality.
She later searched social media and found Yu-chan, a very cute otter living in a private household in Osaka. She sent the owner a direct message saying she wanted to meet, met Uchan in Osaka, and became hooked.
This is Oshikatsu, but the idol is an otter.
She even joined an offline meetup. Uchan came to Tokyo by car, and about 30 fans gathered. Fuji-san said Uchan was friendly and seemed to remember her by scent when sniffing her.
30 fans, one otter, a car trip? I would watch this documentary.
The best moment was when Uchan's whiskers touched her face during a photo. Fuji-san said she froze and suddenly understood how her own fans feel when they get nervous taking a photo with her.
The performer became the fan. That is oddly beautiful.
The host compared this with animal fandom more broadly, including panda fans and Gogo, the polar bear associated with Tennoji Zoo and 551 Horai. But Uchan's world had its own scale. Meetups, bingo, limited goods, and a yearly calendar.
A yearly calendar? That otter has stronger brand management than some bands.
The local geography was very Osaka too. Uchan was said to appear around Tennoji Zoo, near Starbucks on Phoenix Dori in Sakai, and to have an ambassador-like connection with Wadawan in Kishiwada.
So this is not just internet culture, it is tied to actual Kansai places.
Important note, this is a broadcast anecdote, not encouragement to keep otters as pets. The interesting part is the strange little social world the conversation revealed.
Admire the story, respect the animal. Do not redesign your apartment around otter fandom.
And somehow, Uchan became a lesson in empathy. Sometimes you understand fans better after becoming one yourself. Our final topic has a familiar voice and a surprising beginning. Azumi Inoue-san before Studio Ghibli fame.
I know the Ghibli connection. I do not think I know the before story.
This came from the Viva Idol Corner. A listener requested Star Storm, Azumi Inoue-san's debut song. The hosts noted that many people know her from Studio Ghibli songs, such as Kimi o no Sete from Castle in the Sky, Sampo, and My Neighbor Totoro.
Oh, Ghibli is a huge bridge for English listeners. That voice is in a lot of childhood memories.
But the broadcast explained that she debuted in 1983 as an idol singer from Ishikawa Prefecture, originally using a kanji stage name, Inoue Azumi.
So before the Ghibli image, there was an idol debut.
The hosts also said she was the first artist signed to Rivstar Records, a record company made by Sagawa Express, and that roughly 100 million yen was spent on the debut, but it did not sell well.
A delivery company starting a record label is already a whole 1980s business history rabbit hole.
Then, in June 1986, someone from a production company invited her to audition for the theme song of Castle in the Sky. According to the broadcast, she went without knowing the content of the work. Hayao Miyazaki was there and told her to sing in her usual way.
Imagine walking into that audition not knowing you are about to enter animation history.
After Kimi o no Sete, her clear voice and singing ability drew attention. But my favorite detail is the name change. At a screening, she saw many children in the audience and realized the kanji in her name would be hard for them to read. So she changed Azumi to hiragana.
Same name, different script, and suddenly more children can read it. That is such a Japanese language detail.
The segment also mentioned NHK's Minna no Uta, family concerts, and a serious health episode in 2023, a cerebral hemorrhage during rehearsal for a 40th anniversary concert, followed by surgery and rehabilitation.
That gives the story weight. Not just nostalgia, but a long career with real life inside it.
Radio Osaka still had Starstorm in its library. After playing it, the host said it sounded idol-like, but the pure, clear voice quality was already there. For learners of Japanese, that is a tiny but powerful reminder that kanji, hiragana, and Roman letters are not neutral choices. They decide who feels welcomed into a name.
You can hear the famous future hiding inside the early record.
And that is a lovely place to end. A voice many people know, with a path that began somewhere less obvious. Today, we moved through roses, tiny life changes, tiger's meals, summer noodles, otter fandom, and a Ghibli voice before Ghibli fame.
Flowers, beans, baseball rice, cold noodles, one very influential otter, and an Idol-era record. That is local texture.
None of it feels like a sightseeing checklist. It is the region as people actually talk about it. What they grow, eat, remember, cheer for, and obsess over. The nice thing is that each topic gives you one small handle for life here. A park name, a food word, a team feeling, a fan habit, or a song you may have heard before without knowing the backstory.
I am still thinking about Rose Benten show.
Careful, if you say that too confidently, someone may start planting.
Good, I stand by the movement.
Thanks for spending this local Friday with us. Until next time, take care and enjoy the small Kansai details hiding in plain sight.